North Carolina and Georgetown, and the opening tip. Jim Nance with Billy Packer for the final piece to the puzzle, and Georgetown gains the opening tip. The 1 and 2 seeds in the East bracket colliding for a ticket to Atlanta.
Hibbert wide open inside. Hansbrough playing behind him. Jim early.
That's over to Wallace. Hibbert with the assist.
I don't believe that North Carolina can play behind Hibbert like that, because it's going to open up all kinds of passing lanes. Makes it much too easy for him.
Hansbrough driving the baseline, and he draws an early foul on Hibbert, who fouled out on Friday night. There are the lineups for the Hoyas at 29 and 6 on the year. They've got 3 juniors in the lineup, including Green and Hibbert, the 2 stars. North Carolina, not a single upperclassman. They start 3 freshmen, 2 sophomores, and the sophomore Hansbrough hits the first free throw.
Jimmy was 1 for 6 in the game against Southern Cal the other night. Only had 5 points and 4 rebounds, gets off to a start, and maybe even more importantly, picks up that quick foul on Hibbert. Let's see if he plays Hibbert a little differently this time. Straight man-to-man, but he can't let him touch the ball in a low post like that.
Both teams coming off giant comeback wins in the Sweet 16 round. It's Green on the drive and off the glass, and he draws an early foul on Brandon Wright.
What we're seeing is a very interesting matchup. Wright's going to have a hard time with Green, who's so versatile, can step outside.
The road to the regional final for Georgetown through Belmont out of Nashville, Tennessee. BC and then Vanderbilt coming back from 13 down to win it on Green's 10-footer with 2.5 seconds to play. And it's Green, the Big East Player of the Year, looking for a little help outside. Takes the jumper.
What's so great about Green, he is extremely patient, but I think he can put the ball on the floor. Nice move by Hibbert.
Wow, what a spin move. He got Hansbrough turned around, and early we've got a basket and an assist for Hibbert.
Edge move by Hibbert, almost picks up another cheap foul. He's got to be careful there, particularly when Lawson turns the corner. There's an example.
On the switch, Hansbrough is guarded by Green. Baseliner, Ellington, all net for the freshman out of Pennsylvania.
Jim, we're going to see Georgetown switch on almost all occasions. When they do that, Hibbert finds himself in some strange positions, as he did there, having to go out and guard a real good jump shot player from about 15, 18 feet.
Trying to go a little back door, but 3 Carolina players were there to pick it off. Lawson quickly now. Baseline to Hansbrough. Gets the soft roll off the front of the rim.
Good hands by Hansbrough. And another thing that he does, he'll put his chest and his chin right in your face to get some room for that jump shot.
Hansbrough's first field goal in his last 28 minutes of playing time, going back to the early first half action Friday against USC.
And that was after coming off that incredible 33-point performance against Michigan State.
Sat driving right past the Carolina defense.
2 layups for Georgetown early. Nobody back to block out, primarily because Wright has to go outside with Green.
25 years after these 2 programs met in a storied championship game down in New Orleans. It's Hansbrough. He's already exceeded his point total of Friday night. He's got 6.
Well, Jim, that 33 he had against Michigan State is only behind the 39 that Al Wood, remember, had in the Final Four against Virginia way back in '81. Awful easy. There's that little drop step inside by Hibbert.
And Hibbert with a couple of early baskets. Hansbrough from the outside. Hand, but not this time. Right on the follow and a foul.
And who made the play? Ginyard with an offensive rebound, the thing that turned the Southern Cal game around.
Foul is called on Sapp. North Carolina's road to the Elite 8 through Eastern Kentucky, Michigan State, and then turning on the afterburners in the second half to Southern Cal. 16 down with 17 minutes to play, going on an 18-point run at one time to win it. Deion Thompson has come in for Hansbrough.
Everybody remembers, obviously, the classic game in 1982 between these 2 clubs. The last time they faced each other, very unusual circumstances. NIT at Chapel Hill. Matt Doherty's last year with Carolina. Craig Escher lasted 1 more year. The programs obviously have turned since then. Great crossover.
To the corner, Ewing, who's just come in, and that three is off the mark, but pulled down by Sapp. And Green will reset.
Stevenson on Green now. Now see if Green tries to check out the freshman with his dribble drive.
Stevenson, number 32. Out to Summers, launching a three, and it's perfect.
Probably the most underrated offensive player on this basketball team for Georgetown.
Lawson trying to bounce it in to Thompson, kicked by the Hoyas. That last matchup you mentioned was in the NIT quarters 4 years back, and Georgetown won it. It would be, in fact, the last game for Matt Doherty, and then, of course, Roy Williams would take over the program just a couple of weeks later. Rayshon Terry is in for Ginyard, who had started for Terry on Friday night and came up big. Rivers in for Georgetown. Terry's been battling strep throat here for the last week. Missed 4 days of practice. He didn't play much on Friday night, but he had 9 points in only 5 minutes of play. He sets a big screen here, and Ellington almost stepping out, take the three instead of two try. Hands brought back in, and he's hacked on the way up.
Just a great rebound, and this is what this young man loves to do. He loves to power inside, uses that upper body strength, and you can see him pull this rebound off in traffic. Nobody does it any better in college basketball than does Hansbrough. And Jim, he'll be going to the line now for over 300 times this year. Number one in the ACC by far.
Ewing was called for the foul, dragged him down with the left on the left arm, and out goes Thompson. Back comes Wright as Roy Williams doing the early shuffle.
Well, a lot of depth on this team. Stevenson and Thompson going out. Those are two young men that came in and played a great game against Arizona on the road, so they're capable of playing in a big ball game.
And that depth was what really eventually wore down the Trojans of USC on Friday night, who were poised for the upset again at one time with a 16-point lead in the second half on Carolina.
No low post presence, so now Green goes down into the low post.
Ewing bouncing it in, and Sapp just taps it up, almost tapped it in.
Pretty good recovery by the young man.
Terry gets past the defender, steps up with the two.
Oh, Ellington keeps it alive.
Over to Hansbrough, and he is fouled, and he'll be going back to the line.
I thought he walked on that play before the foul, Jim.
Second foul on Sapp. Billy, there's been a lot of strong debate about Jeff Green's winning shot on Friday night. Many say he definitely traveled. Others say it was not a travel call. How did you see it?
In my opinion, not a travel call at all. There he has his pivot foot in position. He'll move his left foot forward, and then he'll come back in a traditional Mikan move to the basket. He lifts the right foot, and as he does, he takes the shot. As long as the right foot doesn't come down before the ball is released, no walk on the play. When you look at it in slow motion, Jim, you may say that the foot slightly lifted up, but we're talking about regular speed for a referee. I don't even think it was close.
You know, to Vanderbilt's credit, they didn't really make an issue after the game with it at all. And Coach Stalling said, well, there were 3 officials on the floor. If they didn't see it, I guess it wasn't traveling. He said the kid made a great play, and Green did. In fact, I saw him interviewed yesterday by our studio gang, and he kind of shrugged his shoulders and said, well, I mean, I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I talked to a bias source today, John Thompson, who coached a lot of pivot men, and said, that's exactly how I teach it. So I realize he's biased, but he's a pretty good expert on low post play.
What an effort he made, though, to set himself free to be able to even get off the shot that he wanted against Vanderbilt. Here we go with the Hoyas. Underneath, it's Ewing with the basket. What a feed by Rivers.
What a feed by Rivers, who a guy sitting in front of Doc Rivers is Pete Carell, who would have loved to play. He's the guy that caught that backdoor cut.
Then Georgetown says, get that out of here. Green back to Ewing again, and he almost makes the same move that resulted in a basket the previous trip. There's Pete Carell.
He's not scratching his head because he doesn't understand anything. That young guy, Coach John Thompson Jr. at Princeton. And certainly has a great history with this Georgetown club. Remember in '89 when that Princeton team was 16 that Pete Carell coached so brilliantly, almost beat John Thompson's Georgetown club in the opening round of the NCAA tournament.
Billy, that was the second foul on Brandon Wright. So Pete Carell, the Hall of Famer who coached John Thompson III at Princeton, and of course John Thompson III's father also enshrined in Springfield, Massachusetts in the Hall of Fame. Pretty good lineage there for the Hoya bench coach. And now passing up the shot. Wallace. Lawson comes flying in to influence. And he does. Hibbert though. Flat with a rebound. And he puts it back up over Hansbrough.
Absolutely right. And there you see how effective Hansbrough is when he can stay down low to the box. The young man's about 7'2". He has excellent hands and great footwork. And it has improved considerably from the time he first came to Georgetown from Georgetown Prep.
So Hansbrough with his first foul, and Hibbert off to a good start, unlike Friday night. And three-point play puts the Hoyas up 1. Feeding it inside to the freshman, Thompson.
Can't get it over the top of Hibbert, who stays on the ground nicely.
He was trying to create some action with the 7-2 center of the Hoyas. Outside Summers. That's a 3.
That's his second perimeter shot of the ball game. As I said, a very underrated score for this team.
This is an 8-0 run for the Hoyas.
And I think if you're North Carolina, you want to bring, they're in a 2-3 zone now as Georgetown. Not the shot that North Carolina would normally want against that defense, particularly with a nice run that Georgetown has going.
First step's a good one. Hibbert able to pick up the ball that was free. Banks it. No.
Look at him playing over the top of people.
Flat-footed, he's getting these rebounds. Wallace connects on a long shot.
Jim, you're talking about Terry 6'9", Hansbrough 6'10". Hibbert just played right over the top of them. And there you see the 2-3 zone now.
Suddenly up 7.
Ellington out of the ball game.
Miller left open, and the senior knocks down a much-needed 3 for the Tar Heels.
We know how important Miller has been, particularly last year, hitting those three-point shots.
For the last half of the season, he's been really on fire from outside, almost 50% from 3. Ewing almost got stuck over to Rivers, working that baseline, tough pass, and it's going the other way. How about Hansbrough? Held the 5 points, a career low on Friday night. He's already topped that.
He has, Jim, but he's given up a lot of size inside to Hibbert. And there you see one getting blocked, thrown down, even though he got fouled on the play. He'll create space. He sits down now, North Carolina, as usual, going to this very deep team of theirs.
They've got Alex Stevenson, another freshman from California in, number 32.
So 2 freshman starters on the bench, 2 freshman subs in, so they're still extremely young on the floor.
Here's the other one from California, Thompson, in the paint and gets the soft touch.
Jim, a wide body player who also, when you talk about footwork inside, it's really amazing how we see a technical foul here, and that's going to be on Coach Thompson, complaining that the other Thompson from North Carolina used his shoulder to gain position. Well, you don't like to get a technical foul when your team has the ball.
Wow, no.
You take away one of your own possessions. There you see his father didn't like that one either.
That puts Danny Green now to the line for North Carolina. Shoot 2.
John, I'll tell you another thing about technical fouls. In the course of the regular season, there are times when you have inexperienced officials that sometimes can be intimidated, particularly by a powerful head coach. I think when you get in the NCAA tournament, we saw it here on the other night as well, you are not going to intimidate referees that can move themselves this high up on the plane. You're best to sit over there and be quiet.
Didn't take North Carolina to recover the 7 points. Game knotted at 22.
Stevenson on Hibbert now. Let's see if they go back into him. Green has been a little bit too patient. He needs to look for his shot more, Jim.
There it is right here. Comes up short. All Carolina in the area of the rebound. Lawson. Put it on that speed and setting up a dunk for Thompson.
And what he does probably as well, he and Conley from Ohio State do it as well as anybody in the country. They take the ball and just go coast to coast with the dribble and make an offense all by themselves.
Of course, the winner of this game will see Conley and company in the national semifinals next Saturday in Atlanta. Ohio State is on their side of the bracket.
Rivers with a backdoor cut, thinking Miller inside.
Tough pass, and Miller saw it coming. Makes the steal. Green was wanting to set the feet for a 3. Probably better off that they had to fumble around for a minute. Miller passes up a 3 of his own. Thompson up high, he hits another one.
That's twice that the young man with the excellent feet forces Hibbert to just kind of stand still there. Talk about like Charles Barkley-esque, where you've got those big bodies, but you've got the quick feet.
And Summers want to work on Green. Double up, no place to go. Shot was blocked. Here's Lawson. Sees a seam, takes off, bounce pass, Green, other side. That one's rejected.
Hibbert got a piece of 2 of those.
Lawson launching the 3.
Hibbert's tired right now, though.
And Green pulls down the rebound, hands it off to Wallace and says, let's settle down.
Now,
and they're not going to wait for the under 12 TV timeout. Thompson says, let's take one ourselves, because it's an 11-point run by Williams, North Carolina Tar Heels. One of those warm days, early spring, much appreciated. Aerial coverage today brought to you by Goodyear back here at the Meadowlands. A lot of history here, Billy. NCAA tournament action.
There really is. The North Carolina in '87, they got beat by Syracuse here in the finals. And Michigan and Temple they knocked off, and then they lost to Kansas in the Final Four. Remember that back in '91. And then they won the championship, working their way through the Meadowlands here in '93, beating Arkansas and Cincinnati. And who'll ever forget the matchup between Duke and Georgetown here in the Meadowlands?
Backdoor, Hibbert and Rivers.
Oh, Hibbert again.
Hibbert right back in with the great anticipation.
It looks like a father playing against little kids when he gets that low to the post. He just reaches up. Everybody else is down under him.
They're working him here with Stevenson, challenging him, and he brings it right down. Oh, they're going to call the second foul on Hibbert. They say he got him with the body.
Well, what I like that Roy Williams is doing right here is he's putting a lot of people against Hibbert, not worrying about the offensive charges, trying to get the big guy in foul trouble.
Well, he's got 2 now, Billy. As we hit another break here at the East Regional Final. With Billy Packer here at the Meadowlands, Jim Nance. You see Hibbert now with 2 fouls, and he's taken out. They brought in Vernon Macklin, 6'9" freshman from Portsmouth, Virginia. And at the line, Stevenson will shoot 1 more, brother.
3 non-starters in the game now. Macklin, Rivers, and Ewing in the ball game for Georgetown. I think John Thompson is saying, I'm not going to let you use that bench to the point where my guys are worn down, as was the case against Southern Cal the other night.
It's the first miss at the line for North Carolina. Only 1 Carolina starter on the floor. We'll make it 2 as Hansbrough comes in for Stevenson. They brought in Bobby Fraser.
And I think the reason for that, Jim, is Hibbert out of the ball game. You bring Hansbrough back in and go to him down low without Hibbert's shot-blocking presence. And he won't have to guard Hibbert down low to get another foul on him. He picked up 1 early. He's on Macklin.
We've seen 11 different Carolina players in action so far, just halfway through this opening 20 minutes. Here's Macklin, just came in for the Hoyas.
And again, Jim, I think Green has got to make himself more active, come to the ball, want the ball now, and kind of take over.
Sap to Macklin, just as you draw it up. And a free throw coming up.
A beautiful screen and cut by Macklin. He screened and then he cut right to the basket. Great pass off the dribble by Sapp.
Foul on Thompson, his first. I was watching Macklin Thursday. Unique shooting style. Jumpers, even drills, pretty flat-footed. That one bounces out as Hansbrough pulls it down.
His high game was against John Thompson's brother.
Ball State. Yep, Rayshon Terry hits a 3.
Important shot for Terry. He's a guy that when he can get the 9 to 10 point scoring, it really helps North Carolina. There's Green again, screening.
Over Terry. And spins out. That one rolled around the rim for a while.
Nice rebound by Terry. He blocked out and then went for the ball.
Fraser lost his footing, able to recover in time. Now Ellington. Back to Hansbrough. Terry fires another one. That's 2 threes in the last minute by Rayshon Terry.
Suffered a strep throat, missed a lot of practice in the last week. But Jim, it's extremely important for him to get positive early in a ball game because he can explode.
I'd say this is pretty positive. 6 quick ones. Carolina has its largest lead.
Good decision by Sapp.
Fraser almost had it. If he would have trusted it, he would have had it. Green, meanwhile, in traffic. The shot that won it the other night. And this time, a foul called.
It's going to be on Macklin. He pushed Hansbrough from the back.
Tonight, Billy, 60 Minutes. An exclusive interview behind bars with Dennis Kozlowski, the top CEO who hit rock bottom and joined John and Elizabeth Edwards in their first interview since the return of her cancer. It's 60 Minutes exclusive coming up tonight on America's #1 network. Hansbrough back to the line. It'll be a one-on-one. Hansbrough, it's interesting, Billy, that he tried to play through that ACC tournament and through the first round of the NCAAs with that protective face mask. They're suffering that fracture in the regular season finale against Duke. He just ripped it off against Michigan State, and instantly his game came back.
Right, he played with a large face mask when he first came back in the beginning of the ACC. Then he changed it to a smaller one. Finally, against Michigan State, Jim just said, no, I'm just going to play the game. He also got hit in the mouth in that game against Duke. He's going to have some dental work done after the season.
Guarding Macklin. Macklin tries the hook shot. And out with it, quick hands. It's Terry.
Terry being extremely productive, and there goes Lawson again, taken off.
That's Ellington. Boy, Terry was open on the left wing and had the feeling he wanted it back.
Good rebound by Green, but again, Green's going to have to get that ball in his hands more often.
With the rebound. Heels looking for the double-digit lead. Nothing there. Lawson.
Pretty tough to draw the charge on him because he's so quick.
Hansbrough over Macklin.
Second time today he's taken the jumper, not to have it to be effective.
But it's going to stay with North Carolina. They've had 8 different players score in this one. A rematch of a classic 25 years ago. Jim Nance and Billy Packer here in New Jersey. Let's take a look at the Power 8 option.
Well, the option for Roy Williams is to utilize his bench, and so far you can see exactly what he's trying to do in this game. Thompson and Stevenson, the 2 freshmen, have been playing often and early, making it trouble for Hibbert, who has now 2 fouls on him, and he's back in the game. But what John Thompson does so he didn't pick up the third is he goes to his 2-3 zone. Hibbert in the middle.
North Carolina comes back out with its first 5.
He's looking to go high-low against that 2-3.
And they say it was last touch by Georgetown.
The high-low with Hansbrough at the foul line, right down in low, and Lawson making a play once again of his own, even against the zone. There's that screen from behind trying to throw over the top.
No shot here, and a violation. I don't even think they were aware there was 2 seconds when they threw it in.
They really weren't. Roy Williams came off the bench. He's very upset, particularly with Lawson here, because as the point guard, Jim, you have to let everybody know what the situation is.
13 minutes into the game, though, before North Carolina commits its first turnover. Hibbert backdoor, and it results in Green slamming it home.
Just a basic Pete Carell backdoor cut, extremely effective, and nobody on the weak side to help either. This is a tough play for Hibbert right now.
Hansbrough doesn't challenge him, though.
I'm surprised. I think he should have tried to take him.
Lawson speeding inside, and Hibbert comes up with a loose ball.
Lawson looking to pass first, Jim, not shoot the shot. And I think Georgetown's playing him for the pass. That's why they've been able to pick those off. He very seldom turns the ball over, particularly in postseason play.
Wallace feeds it to the big man, and Hansbrough with the push from behind.
Before the shot.
Yep, they're not going to count the basket. This being the final piece to the puzzle as Hansbrough picks up his second. Already set for Atlanta. Florida and UCLA, last year's championship game, will be a semifinal rematch with Ohio State in the other game taking on the winner of this one.
Collison Conley, will that be some match of point guards that can fly?
Speaking of which, there's Ellington, followed by Wright.
And speaking of big men that can fly, Wright getting down the court, terrific hustle.
Well, you think about it, Billy, we've got the SEC represented again. The Pac-10 is in. The Big Ten is in. Will the fourth be ACC or Big East?
We have 2 number 1s and a number 2. And if North Carolina were to win here, you'd have for the second time since that 93 Final Four with 2 1s. Another backdoor cut. North Carolina turning their heads.
Summers with the shot. Sapp with the assist.
Boy, it's really important defensively to see that ball and your man. North Carolina is turning their heads, really getting hurt. Again, looks to pass first.
And Wright makes the shot.
Who's the foul on? This is big.
I don't think it's Hibbert. I don't think it can be on Hibbert.
This is big.
It's not.
There's Lawson again, though, with that penetration against the zone or man-to-man.
They're calling on Wallace.
And here you have Hansbrough going out again. Roy Williams keeping all his guys fresh. He's got a 9-point lead with a man on the line. Thompson back into the ball game.
That was the first on Wallace, so Hibbert still with just the 2.
And the only weak link in Wright's game, as we said before, 55% free throw shooter, hits that one.
It's a 10-point lead for the Tar Heels of North Carolina. Can't leave him. And that's Green with the 3.
And there's that versatility, Jim. He can step outside. He's an excellent passer. I just think he needs to get the ball in his hands more often in this game.
Ellington trying to hit Thompson. Picked off by Green.
Good play by Thompson.
He denies the feed inside to Hibbert. Here goes Lawson, putting it up short. But Wright again with the long arms and the shot by Wright.
Boy, we saw Wright of Kansas yesterday, and between the 2 Wrights, you have as long as extension as you're going to see in college basketball. Terrific offensive putback.
Julian Wright for Kansas. Landon Wright here for North Carolina.
And that last pass to Hibbert, Sapp just telegraphed it. There it is. That's a good pass.
He got right past Thompson, turned him around.
Absolutely. Uses that wide body, passes the ball on the proper side.
Baseline coming in. And Hibbert, watch out here. And it's not going to be on Hibbert again. It's called on Sapp. We've got a break in the play in New Jersey. 3 on Sapp. Coming up on AT&T at the half, Greg Clark and Seth will talk with Ohio State head coach Thad Matta. His Buckeyes heading to the Final Four. You'll also see the post-game celebration from the Florida Gators and an AT&T Naismith watch update coming up on AT&T at the half. Now, Sapp sits. That was a crucial call on him. That was his 3rd. And Wright is at the line to shoot a couple.
Jim, the Georgetown faithful getting a little upset with the officials. It's kind of interesting there to our left. All those North Carolina light blue shirts to the right. It'll be interesting to see Big East ACC how this starts going down.
They booed throughout that entire break, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
Back in, Stevenson, who's seeing a lot more duty tonight than he did on Friday.
Yes, and I'll tell you what is really key in this 352 is Hibbert not to pick up that 3rd foul.
One thing the Hoya faithful are angry about, that's plus 14 at the free throw line for North Carolina so far. And the Tar Heels have brought in for the first time Quentin Thomas. He becomes now the 12th Tar Heel to see action in this first half.
Good no call by the official there.
Stevenson trying to act like he got knocked to the ground by Hibbert. And this is going to be a call against Stevenson.
But that's, you know, that's what's okay for North Carolina because they've got a lot of fouls to use with Thompson and Stevenson, whereas John Thompson has no fouls to use for Hibbert.
That's just the first on Stevenson. That call brought a standing ovation from the Georgetown throng, anchored behind the Hoya bench.
Nice crossover dribble.
Nice split, too, and Summers hits the shot with the left hand.
Summers has hit 2 nice jump shots and a tremendous crossover dribble on the split.
He's got 10 in the game.
Outstanding freshman prospect. Georgetown picking up their defensive intensity right now. Have a hard time getting that off of Green.
Terry, some thought he might have dragged the foot there. Now it's back over to Thompson. Terry, that shot.
That was blocked by Hibbert. Took a big chance there.
Wallace snaps it ahead. Green puts it up and in.
Whenever he gets forceful and gets a little selfish wanting the ball, he can really be productive.
The lead is trimmed to 5.
And I think North Carolina finds himself with a lineup right now that is favoring Georgetown.
Good fake by Terry. Goes to the other side. And strep throat or not, Terry has been giving them some explosive minutes off the bench.
Jim, what Hibbert's got to be careful. He's reaching a lot when guys go by him. He can get in a lot of trouble with a cheap foul on his part.
Here's Hibbert on the drive. Takes it back out. Wallace. Spinning on Miller. Dipsy didn't know. And right into the arms of Stevenson.
Good block out by Stevenson. I think Coach Thompson would be wise to get Hibbert out of the
ball.
There's
Thompson for North Carolina.
I think he'd be wise to get Hibbert out of the ball game right now. You got just 1:48 to go. You don't want that third foul.
Already Georgetown allowing a season-high first-half total of 48 by North Carolina. Certainly not the pace that the Hoyas can go a whole game with. As Rivers slices in and is fouled outside. Well, we talked about it a couple of times already. This is the 25-year anniversary of that classic championship game, the Jordan shot, the Worthy steal, and the Dean Smith national championship. Patrick Ewing, he's here tonight.
Jim, I've talked to James Worthy a lot about that play, and Freddie Brown as well. What I always ask James Worthy, what in the world were you doing so badly out of place defensively? What made that pass possible is that Worthy was out of position, not that Brown made a mistake. You got that peripheral vision. You see a guy that you thought was a teammate of yours. You never anticipate in your mind that that's an opponent because he doesn't belong there. And so he often said it was a bad pass, but I really think mentally it was a breakdown on his part because he had good eyesight. And what I loved is the fact that John Thompson hugged him when that game was over, and 2 years later when they won the championship, he was the first guy he hugged.
What a moment that was in Seattle.
Really was.
Rivers hits 1 of 2. That's a travel call. So what did Worthy say about being out of position?
Well, he really can't explain what happened to him, because when you look at the replay of the play, when you say, well, I'm out of position defensively, he was 20 feet away from where he should have been on the play and turned out to be at the right spot and for Freddie Brown at the wrong time.
Approaching a minute to go here in the first half. Fast-paced, plenty of action, and another play right here. It's going to be against Danny Green of North Carolina. Count the basket.
Some calls going the other way now. Maybe this Georgetown crowd has had something to do with it. They really got vocal during that timeout.
Wallace returns for Sapp, who was again on the floor for a brief while there with 3 fouls.
And Jim, you can see what Roy Williams is doing. He feels, and you know, all these great coaches, they sense how to run a ball game. He's starting to work the referees a little bit now, saying, how come because they're booing, things have changed here a little bit.
Carolina again up quickly and driving in from the baseline. Green draws the foul. Danny Green draws the foul on... That one's called on Ewing, his first.
Green, who came up big as well in that Southern Cal game, just as Ginyard did. 3 for 7, 8 points. Young man is a very good scorer. Former McDonald's All-American who has been patiently on the bench this year, but coming up big when he gets in there.
It's actually the second on Patrick Ewing Jr. Hey, Green from North Babylon, New York. He had 8 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 assists. A big part of that comeback win by the Tar Heels Friday night. Tipped around and gathered by Stevenson, and North Carolina has it as we approach now 50 seconds to go in the half.
North Carolina again getting great play off of Stevenson and Thompson in this ball game.
Both teams shooting over 50%. North Carolina can go over 50 points right here on this possession.
Jim, we're talking about a Georgetown team that holds their opponents to 57 per game. Forget about per half.
Lawson with 4 on the shot clock. Rejected again, this time by Green. Now the Hoyas can hold it for one last shot.
Was that Green or Ewing, Jim? I think it was. It might have been the Patrick Ewing impression right there by his son.
Wallace, that's a 2. Yeah, perfect again. Carolina get off a good shot. They have the time. Lawson looking around, now driving on Rivers, puts it up at the buzzer.
There's a foul called right before the clock. Yes, sir. He will go to the line, Will Green. This will really get the Georgetown faithful up now.
And how about this? This will be the 3rd on Patrick Ewing Jr. Stevenson will be the only man on the floor when he attempts these free throws.
Well, they're looking to see if the time had expired prior to the foul. I don't think it had, Jim. I think that the foul is going to count. And another thing they better look at, I'm not so sure that Stevenson, I thought it was green. Let's take a look at this. Shot goes up.
It's called on Ewing, so it's right here.
Well, there's no question to foul. You see that there's 0.6 of a second left. There'll be no problem for the officials to put a North Carolina player, Stevenson, on the line. And this will really rile up the Hoya faithful.
And they're going to actually, because they've gone back and reviewed it, and you saw it, there's Patrick. 0.8 seconds is going to be added to the clock, so Stevenson will not be the loneliest man inside Continental Airlines Arena. He'll have 9 other players on the floor here.
And Jim, with 0.8 of a second, Georgetown should have a play in mind because they can get something off.
2 for Stevenson.
Long.
Hibbert's coming in.
Coming in to make sure that North Carolina doesn't get a rebound. But boy, how about this? 0.8 of a second. You sure don't want to push Green.
There's 2 already. They hit the 50 mark with that shot. Baseball pass down the floor, and it's batted away by Ginyard.
Nice defensive halfback play by Ginyard.
Yes. I wonder if Butch Davis took note of that. Free throw line in particular.
Well, free throw line, 2 for 5 for Georgetown, 17 for 20 for North Carolina. Georgetown shooting 59%. That doesn't match the record in the regional final 82, which Georgetown had. There's a nice little roll to the basket by Hansbrough.
And he's got it back, Billy. Hold on a second here. Let's see what Lawson does. I thought he was going to fire it back up. Lawson driving in. Hibbert gets his 5th block, and somehow it lands in Hansbrough's open arms.
Boy, Hibbert came down hard on that one, and sometimes a big man gets penalized when he goes after a small man because just the strength will knock the small man to the ground.
With the free throw line, it's plus 15 points for North Carolina. They've got 15 more attempts and points than the Hoyas in that first half. Wallace lays it up and in. That last basket by Hansbrough was his first field goal since 2.5 minutes into the game.
Notice Lawson with that head up. He knew Hibbert was down, not down in the low post. I thought he was going to take it all the way to the basket and finish.
Hibbert, after a 5th block in the game, is now going to get his 3rd foul with that. Boy, they came right out and challenged the big man the first 2 times down the floor.
Absolutely, and that's exactly what Roy Williams did, utilizing all of his big men. Here you see the brackets, Jim. Florida, UCLA, a rematch of last year's championship. And as you pointed out, the big power conferences are in pretty good shape.
Hansbrough, this will be his 9th attempt. He's now 9 for 9 in the game.
Well, John Thompson's got to take Hibbert out of the ball game now, doesn't he?
Well, he hasn't made a move yet.
He has not made a move. This is dangerous on his part.
10 for 10 for Hansbrough.
Just down 8 points and leaves the big man in the game. He is going to have to be careful. And if you're North Carolina, anytime he moves, try to get underneath him.
He's just now brought in Macklin to the scorer's table. At the next whistle, Hibbert will be coming out. The dangerous territory in the meantime. Summers may have traveled. He did. The inside game, Brandon Wright hit 4 out of 4 in that first half, Billy. He too had 12 points.
You can see the whole strategy is take the ball right inside. There you saw Thompson doing it. Lawson takes it down inside, right with those long arms. They throw a lot of weapons.
So they safely get Hibbert to the bench before he picks up a 4th. Ellington puts up the 3. North Carolina had made 3 out of 4 from outside in that first half.
What a
pass, boy. Fastball inside to Green, and Hansbrough doesn't challenge him. He's having to be careful as well.
Jim, that was 60 feet on a line, that pass.
Hansbrough has 2 fouls of his own.
And Macklin in the ballgame looked pretty good in the few minutes that he got a chance to play in that first half. Big active kid. Here he is out on Ginyard.
Hansbrough. 3 defenders around him, and it rolls in.
He's got that soft touch right now, and Georgetown really at a disadvantage. You don't want to put Green on him. Remember last year when Georgetown upset Duke, Green was able to do a nice job on Sheldon Williams, but You sure don't want him getting in foul trouble.
Hansbrough with all 6 Tar Heel points in the second half, 18 on the game. Wallace banging home a 3.
Wallace, one of the best shooters from any ball club in the country this year, both from a free throw standpoint and a 3 standpoint. Now you have Wright down inside with that long reach of his.
But only Summers underneath.
Good block out by Green on Hansbrough. Sapp's really pushing the ball up the court well.
It's going to be a push-off call, and it's going to be against Lawson. Billy, we're 2 weekends away from hearing that soft Augusta melody.
You're already hearing it in Florida by Tiger Woods, aren't you?
Yes, you are. We've got exclusive video coming this year, though, from Amen Corner. Once again, Amen Corner Live and bonus play-by-play coverage of the entire field with Masters Extra starting 1 hour prior to CBS's television coverage. Go to cbssportsline.com/masterslive and masters.org.
Here you see the Big East fans really getting into it with that traditional Big East chant, "Let's go Hoyas." Here again, Green just too unselfish. He should take right off the dribble. He has to be a 30-point scorer in this game.
Macklin. Sapp, nice piece of dribbling, but too strong with the shot. Put back left hand, no. It was Macklin. Now Wallace, pass almost picked by Terry. No backcourt call. Yes, it is.
Now, did that ball ever touch a North Carolina player?
I thought it did.
I don't think that Lawson ever got a piece of this at all. Let's see. Green beating him to the spot. No, Lawson never touched it. Good over and back call by the official. There's the 2-3 zone. Good skip passing by North Carolina over the top of this zone. They ought to be able to kick it back inside on one of those skip passes.
Georgetown aggressively fighting off the screen. There's a shot by Ellington. It's a 3. He did not make one Friday night.
But it's a tough break for John Thompson being in all of this foul trouble, and give Roy Williams credit for utilizing the bench as well as he has any time this year.
Ewing's going to be coming back in for the Hoyas. Remember, he too has 3 fouls, all in the first half. Turnaround shot. That's a good one, too, by DeJuan Summers.
Having an outstanding ball game. He is now 5 for 6, Jim. He's got 12 points.
Ellington splits, comes in, dumps, and foul first. It's against Macklin. So we reach our first break of the second half, and the margin remains at 6. Aerial coverage brought to you by Goodyear. Jim Nance with Billy Packer here at the East Regional Final. UCLA is going back to the Final Four, as is Florida, and last year's finalists will meet in one of the semifinals next Saturday, with Ohio State taking on the winner of this one.
Jim, very unusual because we have gone 4 years without any team returning to a Final Four. 16 different teams in the last 4 years made it to the Final Four. That changes this year, obviously. Ooh, crossover there by Ellington, got by with it.
It's Thompson. And that's going to be a travel call. Drag that foot. That'll be something to see those two teams meet again, this time for the right to go to the title game. And you wonder if a guy like Jordan Farmar thinks, man, if I somehow could come back for one game, I would love to be back for that one. What a shot here by Sapp.
Georgetown hanging in here, and you say, how can they be so close? They're being totally out-rebounded. They're getting killed on the foul line, and yet their shooting percentage is unbelievable. Hansbrough keeping North Carolina in the game. Georgetown's shooting 62%. As I mentioned, Georgetown's all-time record, 74.4% in the regional final back in '82. But this is some excellent shooting by Georgetown.
Ewing putting up the shot.
Don't know if that was a good shot to take. Again, Green not coming to the ball very much.
Pass deflected. Gets there safely to Ellington. Too strong with the shot. Thompson underneath, and he's fouled.
That's Macklin getting there a little too late.
Discover friends you never knew you had. Win an NCAA men's Final Four trip for 2 Only at mycokerewards.com/NCAA.
Jim, a real key for any great team is to shoot better shots than your opponents. In Dean Smith's 27 years at North Carolina, he only had 4 teams shoot below 50%. Now we talk about the great Georgetown teams under John Thompson. Patrick Ewing and company. In the 4 years Patrick Ewing was at Georgetown, they shot 50.3%, 48.9, 50.9, and 50.9. You know, probably the best thing you can do as a coach is to get better shots than your opponent. They're 2 great coaches, 2 Hall of Famers showing you how to get it done. And today, this Georgetown club is really taking good shots and keeping themselves in the game with good shots.
On the North Carolina side, they won Friday night, Billy, without shooting 40% from the field, held under that. They had lost their 7 previous NCAA tournament games when they were under 40%.
Made up for it with incredible offensive rebounding.
That was the story of that second half.
Yep.
The second chances. Sparked by Ginyard.
Good overplay by Terry. He's having a solid game. Matches up pretty well size-wise with Green. But again, Green has got to come and get the ball.
Rivers doubled up. That pass is a backcourt violation. Going out of bounds anyway.
Well, right in front of us, Rivers stepped out of bounds before making that play. Official didn't catch it.
So North Carolina ratchets up the pressure. Results in a turnover. We didn't have many in the first half on either side. Just 8 total.
Well, on those backdoor cuts, North Carolina didn't get close enough to the guy they were guarding to either commit a foul or to create a turnover.
Hansbrough.
On Green on him. Good defense.
Wallace came over to help out. Tipped out to Ewing. Lost it. Into Terry. Tipped up Thompson. Thompson coming up with a huge performance off the bench.
Over the top of Ewing, who did not block him out. Terry doing a nice job keeping the ball alive, and here comes Hibbert back in. John Thompson saying, you know, I can't wait any longer.
He's going to take a timeout. He cannot wait another second. 12 points by Deon Thompson. And North Carolina's lead has risen to 9. We're back in the Meadowlands, and to update the story we told you the other night, as you see the cheerleading squad from North Carolina wearing the patches in observance of Jason Ray, the North Carolina mascot, Ramesses, who was hit by a car the other day while going out just to pick up a snack late in the afternoon before their Friday game against USC. He remains in a New Jersey hospital in critical condition. The senior from Concord, North Carolina. That's a left-hand shot, dropping for Green.
There's Green using the left-handed little baby hook as he used the right-handed shot to beat Vanderbilt.
Slashing through, it's Terry. Got the shot to go. Miller fed him.
Terry and Thompson having some kind of game. Thompson was 7 for 8, 14.6 rebounds against Arizona in that big game where he started. And he is playing that same kind of game here.
Wallace inside the arc.
He loves that drop back. And there's Terry again, Jim.
Carolina's been going for a while now with its 2 prominent seniors, Miller and Terry, on the floor.
Lawson has been quiet looking for his shot in this ball game.
Well, here's that one on the way, and he hits the shot on the run.
Spoke a little too soon, I guess.
North Carolina has its largest lead of the game now. It's 11.
Miller on Wallace. Miller pretty good on the ball defender.
15 times in his career he's been honored as the defensive player of the game. Talking about Miller. Outside, and good shot.
Great shot. Thought he got hit on the hand as well. That's a terrific shot.
He was trying to draw it and stolen away. That was Hibbert creating havoc.
Yes, he sure did. I think that Lawson misjudged how long Hibbert's arms are. Hibbert wants the ball. He's in the low post, gave the signal.
Beautiful pass it was by Ewing.
And there was Terry in the overplay on Green, thinking he's coming outside for the jump shot. Pete Carell seeing a lot of nice plays by his former pupil, isn't he?
I'm telling you, just putting him in the building and you bring back the back door. Hansbrough, that's Green. Oh, they're going to call a foul. They're calling on Green. So Hansbrough will reside at the line coming out of the break. That's the first on Green, but a little flurry here by the Hoyas. Billy, why don't you illustrate those free throw disparities, too?
Right there, here you see 21 for 24, 2 for 5. That 63% shooting is what's keeping Georgetown in the game.
2 more attempts at the line coming up. for North Carolina.
I mentioned that Hansbrough has now shot over 300 free throws this year. This is the 14th game that he's had double figures in free throw attempts. 13 for 17 against Michigan State, 11 for 11 North Carolina State, 14 for 18 against Virginia Tech. And what is he today? 10 for 10?
And he's going to be up to 12 attempts when this is done. He's 10 for 10 and remains,
Jim, how valuable
without a miss.
How valuable is it to have a big guy for so many reasons that can get to the foul line? Number one, obviously you're getting points on the board, but number two, you're putting the other team's big men in constant jeopardy.
Well, he makes both and takes a seat. And Thompson returns. Thompson on the floor with 12 points.
Georgetown again spreading things out. Hibbert out of the ball game now, so look for Green and Summers to take the offensive load. Summers posting up on Green in there and really getting some nice position.
Georgetown working hard for it, but 73% shooting in this half, keeping them in it. And there's another soft touch by Green.
Jim, I don't want to keep repeating myself, but I think that Green needs to just keep looking to score. A game like this, he needs to break out and not worry about his overall consistency, become a major scorer because he's capable of it.
They lob it to Thompson, doubled up. Here's Danny Green, short on the shot. Jeff Green rebound.
Jeff Green with some tremendous defense to alter that shot.
You know, you looked at the scoreboard a minute ago during a break and said, it feels like the lead should be a lot larger than this.
And Green is pumping his chest right now, wanting that ball. There he is, low posting on right. His teammates not looking for him. This will be a tremendous run for Georgetown here to be able to do this with Hibbert on the bench.
Try to bounce it inside, and Lawson read it. Saw it coming. Took it away from Sapp. Down low, right. Tough angle, picked up in it. What a tip-in it was by Thompson.
How about these offensive rebounds the last two games by the North Carolina players? Thompson having a monster game off the bench.
What an X factor he is. You think of Ginyard being the X factor on Friday night. Clearly, Deon Thompson, a difference maker today.
Green realizes what he must do right now, and he's looking to score more. This is a great move on his part.
Didn't finish. Wright rips it away, over to the wing, Miller. Past the traffic, Danny Green launching.
North Carolina was really lucky not to have those passes intercepted, and not a good shot by Green to take before his big guys could have got set up.
And a timeout called by Georgetown with 9 minutes, 13 seconds remaining. Final slot in Atlanta. Up for grabs. Hibbert's checking back in. Wallace inbounds for the Hoyas.
Jim Green pointing to his chest, telling his teammates, get me the ball. Hibbert back into the ball game. Hansbrough trying to play in front of him.
There's Hibbert. Snags it. Turns around. Left hook. No. Pull down Deon Thompson. When Hibbert went out at the 18:42 mark, it was an 8-point game. He returns, it's an 8-point game. So they held ground. But a deficit still to recover here for the Hoyas. If they want to keep their dream alive of going back to a Final Four for the first time since 1985. Lawson.
No room in there to get rid of that ball.
And in the scrum, it's called a jump ball. The arrow is going to the Hoyas. You know, since Georgetown was in that famous Villanova final game, 1985, they've been on the brink of the Final Four 3 other occasions and lost in the Elite Eight round in 87. And another one in the late 80s, 89, 96. So in this spot right here for the first time in 11 years. One step from the promised land.
Still feel like Georgetown is in it with their good back cutting. Hibbert with only 3 now. Sapp's been hot of late.
Sapp again thought he might have been hit, and he put up the 3. North Carolina out rebounding the Hoyas by 16.
Not unusual when you look at the stats throughout the course of the year. North Carolina #1 rebounding team in the ACC.
The Go under 8 minutes. North Carolina taking its time on this possession and turning it over. Stepping on the line.
Lawson again looking to pass first, Jim, and not looking for his shot. Getting in too deep.
There are the final 4 brackets. 1 game to settle. Here with 7:51 to go, and North Carolina leading by 8. Can Florida do it? Can it become the first team, Billy, to repeat since Duke in 91 and 92?
Well, I think they certainly can do that. We got an interesting deal too between UCLA and Ohio State. I think back in the 60s when Jerry Lucas and company won as sophomores, everybody assumed they'd repeat, and all of a sudden along comes a team in their own state that beats them 2 years in a row in the Final Four. The great Cincinnati clubs. Then Cincinnati wins 2 in a row. You figure they're going to be the first team to win 3, and they get knocked off by Loyola Chicago.
Hibbert,
nice shot
right over Hansbrough, is halfway down and somehow spins out.
Hansbrough just playing position defense. Notice not trying to block anything from Hibbert, just staying on the ground, trying to stay underneath him.
Here's that combo again. Hansbrough wanting to drive on Hibbert, wanting to challenge it. Gives it up, Lawson, bouncing it inside, and this could be a goaltend call after the foul. Ginyard put up the shot.
I think a good call by the official. You can hit the ball after it hits the backboard if the shot is going up.
No goaltend.
No goaltend on the play. Good call.
You can vote for your Pontiac game-changing performance of each round of the tournament. Nearly $150,000 in scholarship contributions is on the line. Vote now at NCAAsports.com/Pontiac. That foul was on Rivers, his first, as Green comes back in for Rivers. And there is Danny Green.
So we've got both Greens back into the ball game. And Jim, that was a nice play by Hibbert, catching that ball. Had it been maybe about another 2 inches, it'd start moving the way down, so he timed it.
Free throws makes it now again a double-digit margin as Brandon Wright replaces Ginyard.
Now you see Roy Williams saying, I'm going to match up your size. Now that means that Wright is guarding Green. Green has got to understand he can put the ball on the floor and go by the big guy who's usually guarding somebody down low.
Summers. Shot put up once, and on the second attempt to go up with it, Hibbert is hacked.
Probably a pretty good foul to make if you're North Carolina, because Hibbert's going to put that one away easily.
That one is on Wright. He has 3.
And they're not going, obviously, to the line because North Carolina has not been committing fouls.
Summers. Bouncing around, almost back to Hibbert.
Somebody is on the end line. That'll be Georgetown's ball. Lawson wanted really the tie up there because the arrow was pointing to North Carolina. Doesn't get as he goes out of bounds.
Georgetown, Billy, has hit a cold snap here, missing its last 8 shots.
But they're getting good shots, Jim, and they're not too far out of this ball game to make a run here. Particularly Hibbert now has not picked up that 4th foul, so he ought to be able to play the rest of the way out if he doesn't pick up a cheap one. As long as they keep going inside, they got to get somebody going on the offensive glass. There's Hibbert with a good target again. Hansbrough playing right behind him.
Yeah, he really wanted it that time. No feed. Summers, tough pass, bouncing around, and Danny Green comes away with it.
Lawson creates his own numbers.
And brings it back out.
Wow, you've got to question that shot, Jim.
It's Danny Green, but the rebound lands in the hands of Ellington.
And you see Roy Williams are probably going to tell Green, here comes the hook.
And off the mark for Wright.
North Carolina not getting those easy calls in the second half that they got in the first half. Wright normally finishes that play.
Jeff Green, and he is going to the line for some rare free throws for the Hoyas. For real-time scores and stats of every tournament game, go to Game Tracker live on CSTV.com, the 24-hour college sports network from CBS Sports.
Jim, you mentioned the number of times Georgetown has been close to getting back to the Final Four. Don't forget that John Thompson was at Georgetown 10 years before he took his first team to the Final Four.
His son trying to do it in the 3rd year. And that was a fourth call, by the way, against Brandon Wright, who will come out. And the hook, which is what I thought you were referring to down the floor last time instead of the Brandon Wright shot, the hook on Danny Green as well. So 4 on Brandon Wright. No points for the Hoyas in 3 minutes and 55 seconds. In fact, the Tar Heels have been scoreless for that same margin.
I think a bad shot selection by North Carolina of late. Green taking some jumpers that were ill-advised before anybody's in position.
Hands off. That's over the rim, and down with it comes Jeff Green.
Another shot that you'd have to question, Jim, with a clock being one of your teammates. You don't want to be taking shots with nobody under the basket, particularly as well as North Carolina's been rebounding on the offensive end.
It's Sapp driving to the basket, and they're out of the drought.
A good comeback here by Georgetown. How often do you see it in NCAA tournament games? These are good teams that get this far. They are not going to give up.
Ellington set for the shot, and it's wide.
No rebounds for North Carolina in these long shots. Wallace can pull up for the jumper as well.
Jeff Green puts it up, goes up high for it.
Great job by Georgetown going inside to Green and Hibbert. Green wants that ball. He's told his teammates, get it to me.
It's down to 5, Billy, inside 5 minutes.
And Georgetown goes to the zone. Again, I think critical that Hibbert did not pick up that 4th foul so he can stay on the floor the rest of the way. Georgetown really getting stingy now.
Lawson.
Nothing more. Look at these blockouts. Green and Hibbert doing a job on the boards.
Baseball pass to Wallace, who was hammered as he would have had the easy basket over to his teammate. It was just basically a catch and a tap.
That was Lawson that made that collision.
Second on Lawson.
And Lawson and Wallace touch hands there. Good sportsmanship.
Second time in just a matter of seconds that Jeff Green soars, wants to get a basket, this time a rebound. Wallace had the right idea.
And you know, normally, Jim, when you take a look at this score, down just 5, probably not a good pass to throw. Got plenty of time on the clock, 4:35. And you're getting great possessions and a lot of scoring inside. Green and Hibbert putting on a show in the low post.
Green wanted to make that same move, instead shut off.
Really like what Georgetown's doing now. They're taking advantage of the 2 top-notch big men.
It's Hibbert. Nice step to the basket.
That's a great comeback. They're doing something that's so smart. Going to the 2 big guys that can produce. North Carolina not getting any offensive rebounds. Roy Williams wants a timeout.
Hibbert's first basket of the second half. 7 unanswered for the Hoyas. What a move it was. And they're right back in it within 3.
Jim, one of the things you'd say for Hibbert, well, now maybe he will get tired, but he's not going to get tired because he's been sitting on that bench a long time today with the foul problems. So the negative was being in foul trouble. The positive is he's still fresh.
He had a long 10-minute break, Billy, in this half.
2-3 zone. Where are the shots coming from for North Carolina?
North Carolina led by 10 at the 7-minute mark. But the Hoyas, 7 unanswered, and Terry cut down by Green. It's Lawson coming into the paint, and right there is the 4th on Hibbert.
Not much he could do other than commit that foul, though, Jim, because Terry on a good pass to Wright. Wright had an easy dunk.
Another break in the action. Wright will be at the line when we return. Georgetown's going to keep Hibbert on the floor, but what a run in the late stages. They were 11 down at one time in this half, 10 down with 7 minutes to play. And Hibbert with 4 fouls. Brandon Wright has 4 of his own, but he'll shoot a couple of free throws.
But, Jim, think of that last foul by Hibbert. I realize it was his 4th. He had to commit it because Wright had an easy dunk, and now Wright goes to the foul line, just a 55% free throw shooter.
Looked pretty good on that one. Georgetown in the tournament has already staged second half comebacks against Boston College, 8 down in the second half to beat them, and then 8 down in the second half to Vanderbilt. They were 13 down in the first half of that. 2 for 2 for Wright.
Nothing but net on both of them. And let's see if Georgetown will continue to get that ball down into Green and Hibbert. That's been their key. Wallace back in the floor now. A kick out for the 3 is also possible for him.
Hibbert way outside. Looking for the back door. It's not there. Throws it to the corner to Ewing. 7 on the shot clock. Hoyas better look up. It's Wallace. He knows it. He's fouled, and the shot is short. They'll shoot a pair.
That was really a great move without the ball by Wallace. He had Lawson on him. Lawson didn't give up any space. Moving without the ball, smart play, and Hibbert likewise. Jim, you know what's good about Green and Hibbert as big men? They hold that ball with 2 hands. They're very good passers because they don't throw the ball away.
Wallace gets the first. He talked about how John Thompson, the dad, took 10 years before he went to the Final Four. The win on Friday night was the 100th game at Georgetown for his son, as he has regenerated the program at Georgetown in a big way as they send Summers back on the floor. They can give Hibbert a breather.
Well, when everybody wanting instant gratification now, John Thompson, I mentioned 10 years till he got to the Final Four. The first 3 NCAA tournaments his team got in, he was eliminated in the first round. So patience pays off.
His son is 5-1 on the bench, Georgetown, in the NCAA tournament. Terry, that's a 3 that bounces off the front of the rim.
But North Carolina, who made a living with offensive rebounding against Southern Cal, and in the first half of this game, getting no offensive rebounds. Green asking for the ball.
North Carolina, Billy, at that end, has now missed its last 8 shots. A 3 would tie it. Green, though, driving in, looking for the 2. And instead locks it over to Ewing.
What a pass by Green.
How did he ever see him there with all those hands in his face? Bodies tangled underneath, no whistle. 1-point game. Hansbrough. Back to the line, and that's a 4th on Ewing.
I like the aggressiveness. So watch this pass. Green goes up in the air, has a tough shot, realizes it's so. He is about as gifted an all-around player as there is in college basketball. No question about it. As I said at the top of the show, his stats don't tell what he really is as a player.
North Carolina has made its last 11 at the line. Free throws been a huge category here today. Hibbert right back in.
He's in to stay now.
And Ewing out with 4.
But I like the Ewing's aggressive play there. He's looking back at the official, but just like his father, he came to play. Short.
Nope.
Looked it.
He's now 14 of 14 from the line.
Nice job by Wallace getting the ball up the court quickly. A timeout, Georgetown.
With 2:21 to play. A 3-point thriller at the East Regional Final.
And Jim, you know what we're going to expect right now. That timeout was called. It's going to be a Green and Hibbert show the rest of the way, looking for a kick out to Wallace. Ginyard on Sapp. Wright with 4 fouls on Green. And there's Green posting up. He wanted it.
It's sophomore again. Move right around 2 defenders, and it's down to 1 again.
I think he faked Hansbrough out. Hansbrough never figured that he's going to take that shot.
2 minutes to play.
And it's Green now guarding Hansbrough.
No field goal for North Carolina. No made basket from the floor in 8 minutes.
They're in some trouble here.
Hansbrough doubled up, reach in, and squeezes his way through, powers his way for the basket. And a timeout, North Carolina.
And Jim, that was a liberal no call on that one. He might have been fouled as well.
That breaks the 8-minute, 12-second drought without a field goal.
Georgetown knows exactly what they want to do. They've got their 2 guns inside, ready to handle that ball.
Sapp with Ginyard, a good defender on him. He's back out to Wallace. Green trying to make a move on Wright, who has 4 fouls. 2 straight with the shot, tip, no, Hansbrough.
That was a big rebound because he had Hibbert right there, and the ball just went a little bit too long. Lawson not looking for a shot. He's got Green on him now. It's an odd matchup. Shows the versatility of Green. He plays Hansbrough 1 minute, Terry in the next, and Lawson the next.
Another timeout called by North Carolina. The Chevrolet players of the game, Jeff Green for Georgetown with 20 points, and Deon Thompson. What an unexpected lift for the freshman from Torrance, California. 14 points, ties a career high. Roy Williams wanted to talk over this crucial possession with 19 on the shot clock.
And he wanted to get Danny Green in the game, get a little bit more offense there. So Ginyard out. Well, Ginyard's still in there. Green comes in, provide an offensive shot. 2-3 zone by Georgetown.
He took Brandon Wright out.
Who has 4 free fouls on him.
5 on the shot clock. Lawson, Rivers defending. It's Hansbrough with 2. Has to take the turnover. And it's back to the rim. And Sapp trying to make the rebound. Decks Hansbrough, but the foul call is going to be against.
I think it's going to be against. I think Sapp was the one that touched the ball first. Let's see how it's going to be called.
It's on Hansbrough, his third.
Yeah. Sapp stuck his nose right in there high off the boards. Here comes Wallace back into the ball game.
That's just the 6th team foul, so 1 away from the bonus.
And critical right here for Georgetown, because taking any time off the clock, North Carolina be able to utilize the clock on their next possession. Taking a lot of time to get this ball up over half court here.
A 3 to tie. They don't need it now. But they'll go for it anyway. Wallace to tie. 31 seconds.
Will North Carolina hold it for the last shot? Jim, I'll point out North Carolina has lost their last 6 overtime games.
Well, they're going to take a timeout here, and certainly they're going to attempt to take the last shot when they come out of this break. Wow, a season on the line here, and a ticket to Atlanta to be decided. That was North Carolina's last timeout. They have the ball. Shot clock shut off. And here was the one that tied it from Wallace.
Look at how he concentrated as a man's going right after his elbow. It's very difficult to do it as a shooter. Jonathan Wallace, 48% three-point shooter, 87% foul shooter, one of the best pure shooters in college basketball. That really took some concentration, because normally there's a little flinch there as a man goes for your elbow.
Roy Williams brings back Brandon Wright. Also Rayshon Terry, who will throw it in. He gives him an outside presence. He can also work it inside as well.
Got Ellington on the wing, Terry on the wing, 2 good jump shooters. Lawson loves to penetrate.
You start practice October 15th for a shot at the Final Four, and here comes that shot for North Carolina. With 7 seconds to go, it's Lawson to Ellington. The freshman fires it back to the rim. Pulled down Georgetown. They call a timeout. And they could possibly look at this again and add a little time to the 1.4.
Boy, Ellington got the shot he wanted, Jim.
They're already going over to the monitor. A break in the action with seconds remaining. Jim Nance and Billy Packer here. They have added time, 0.6 of a second added now. 2 full seconds to go. They have to go the length of the floor. No timeouts.
Well, Jim, with no timeout, you can't throw it up to half court and move the ball that way. You cannot dribble the ball in 2 seconds the length of the floor either. So this is going to have to be a pass at least to half court, and look for Green or Hibbert trying to do something.
Sapp with a long wingspan will try to make this a difficult pass. Will they baseball it down the floor? No, they'll go backcourt. Wallace running into the front court. Launches not in time. That was after the horn. Overtime at the East Regional Final. Georgetown comes back from 10 down with 7 minutes to play to force it. Hibbert will not jump it here. No, he goes all the way back.
Yeah, Green stole the opening jump and does it again.
But Hansbrough chases it down for Carolina. Ginyard down to Hansbrough. Over Green. Shot. Big time influence and blocked.
That was Summers also getting on the boards. North Carolina, Jim, when's the last time they got an offensive rebound? It seems like it hadn't happened in this half.
And that's what won it for him in their big comeback against Southern Cal on Friday night. Sapp stepping in, kicking out. Green baseline, and Georgetown misses on its first shot of overtime, but we'll get it back.
Terry goes up to try to get the ball with one hand. Never a good idea. Jim, I pointed out with about 3-4 minutes to go, even though Georgetown was behind, they seemed to be the more positive team. And it sure paid off for them.
What do you attribute that to?
I don't know. I think they just started getting confidence. Another good backdoor cut.
Green to Wallace. Georgetown's first lead since 12.5 minutes remained in the first half at 22-21. Beautiful pass by Jeff Green. Right up. Too strong. Tipped up. No.
Rebound.
And there's a second one. Brought down. They're going to call it a clean block on Hibbert, and the arrow goes to Georgetown.
Again, Hibbert doing a terrific job not chopping down on the block, keeping his hands right up there with 4 fouls. Gutsy play.
Hibbert now with 6 blocks in the game, which ties a career high. Hoyas look to add to their lead. Trying to knock out the #1 seed in the East.
Zappa's been turning this corner pretty well.
Hibbert up high, driving now, kick out. Sapp wanted the baseline on Ginyard, but his fast feet adjusted. Bounce pass inside, loose. And Georgetown is up 4.
Well, we had a bobble in the ball game at Vanderbilt that Green had, and there was a double bobble for a nice basket for Georgetown.
That late game momentum from regulation spilling over to the overtime for the Hoyas as Hansbrough.
There's another block, and that's a walk. Again.
Block #7 forces the turnover.
The all-time blocks in this regional, 9 by David Robinson back in '86. Hibbert doing his invitation.
Hibbert trying to set up a matchup with 7-footers next week in Atlanta with Greg Oden.
That would be some matchup. Hibbert really doing a tremendous job with 4 fouls on him.
A 20-6 run by the Hoyas. To send it to overtime, now take the lead in the overtime with inside 3 minutes to go. Green fadeaway, 6 now.
Roy Williams might need a timeout here. He's got to get some shooters on the floor ready to take some jump shots. Surprise Ellington not in the ball game. Had a chance to win it at the end of regulation. Lawson not looking for his jump shot.
Terry wants it from the corner. And it's Hibbert pulling it down.
This is a terrific job by Georgetown, out-rebounding North Carolina, a team that is #1 in the ACC with 8.7 advantage to their opponents.
Bounce pass inside, and the ball is loose. Squirted back out to Green. In the paint, hook shot brought down by White, who had 4 fouls, but makes the play. North Carolina, Billy, has 1 made field goal in the last 12 minutes. That's Sapp, that's a 3. Rebound Right, trying to get it out on the break, but the ball deflected by Green.
Wasn't that a great play by Green?
Up high, Right snares it. Terry trying to extend his career. The senior misses. Tipped up, no. And rebounded. And a foul on Hansbrough. That'll be his 4th. Jeff Green took a spill.
He did. He hurt his ankle.
Hoyas in the second half, coming back from 11 down early in the half, 10 down with 7 to play. And Hansbrough with 4 fouls now. He has 4. Wright has 4. Hibbert and Ewing on the other side with 4.
And again, Jim, Hibbert playing with tremendous amount of energy. And that is attributable to the fact that 10 minutes he had to sit down because of foul trouble. A lot of guts by John Thompson to keep him there that long when the team was in trouble. But Green stepped up, made the difference.
The free throw good by Summers. North Carolina has been blanked in this overtime.
And they have been blanked in the last 6 overtimes, losing every one of them, including one this year to Virginia Tech.
Now they have to make up 8 points in 98 seconds.
That means Lawson has got to start driving the ball into this zone. Ellington back into the ball game.
Ellington fires a 3 short. Long rebound, chased down Summers.
1 and done. No offensive rebounds for North Carolina in this ball game. We're going to pick up full court now.
Ellington looking for a steal on Sapp, but reaches in instead, sending him to the line.
Sapp very powerful.
We are a minute and 13 seconds away from John Thompson III completing something that's never happened before in college basketball history. A father and a son taking teams to a Final Four, much less the same program.
Well, I said the other day that this John Thompson does it his way, and he has got this Georgetown program back where it was when his dad was there, without question.
1-1.
And you have North Carolina now putting three-point shooting team on the floor. Green, Ellington, Terry, and Lawson.
Got them both. North Carolina has misfired on 17 of its last 18 shots in a 10-0 overtime run by the Hoyas. Green is short, again, one and done. Georgetown with an amazing turnaround in the late going. Just what North Carolina had pulled off on Friday night.
And Jim, when you look at this ball game, the first half certainly played North Carolina's way, scoring 50 points in the first half. Not like a Georgetown team. The second half, it was all Georgetown basketball. Even when North Carolina had the lead.
Jeremiah Rivers' father, Doc, the old Marquette star, cheering. There's Patrick Ewing wanting to see his Hoyas back at a Final Four. They're less than a minute away. Danny Green, free.
One and done again.
And Jeff Green able to take that rebound away. North Carolina 0 for 9 in the overtime.
Now, Jim, you said it'd be the big conferences, but with about 8 minutes to go, we thought it would be the ACC, not the Big East. The Big East now will have their 13th Final Four appearance since the league started. We know about Connecticut, Syracuse, Villanova, Georgetown, Louisville that's now in the league, Marquette's been in the league. Georgetown now back to the Final Four.
I've never seen a team go this cold, a quality team go this cold so late. Terry with a three. Hands offensive rebound. And he'll go to the line. Well, they have been advanced in the brackets. Florida, UCLA, Georgetown, Ohio State, Atlanta bound.
And Jim, a real contrast in styles in this Final Four. UCLA and Georgetown play a game like we've seen in this second half here. Hard-nosed defense. You got Florida and Ohio State like to get out and run on it.
You got the rematch of last year's championship game. You've got big-time seven-footers Hibbert and Noden. In the other one, there's a three. And again, Carolina may not make another field goal in this game. Up ahead, Summers.
All Hoyas. Lock solid, Jim.
Ellington. Hansbrough kicks it back out. Lawson. And that's the first made basket of the overtime by North Carolina. First shot from the floor.
Just a tremendous comeback when you take in consideration the adversity they had in foul trouble in the first half. A nice job of coaching by John Thompson as he handled Hibbert's foul troubles.
North Carolina doesn't even score in overtime until 7 seconds remain.
Well, they've had, as I said, all kinds of problems as an overtime team.
But some of that, you know, it doesn't even apply to these freshmen, these kids. That goes back. I mean, only once this year at overtime, but the curse, if you will, of the overtime does continue.
Roy Williams standing over there cannot believe what has happened to him the last 7 minutes of regulation and overtime.
Father, like son, Georgetown is going to the Final Four.